Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. If there's anyone out there who wants to find us, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook. If you want to listen to us, the best place to listen to us is Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those are where we have the strongest format, we have the most downloads, we have the most reviews, etc. So that's where to find us. Also, like, share the episodes. If you're on the show, you should share your own episode and get your numbers up. Also, guys, I know I get that question. It's okay to root for yourself. Okay. We live in a world where we think it's not okay to root for ourselves. It's very okay to root for yourself. That's not cocky. That's not ego. That's the ability to help push ourselves forward when no one else will. Just saying. Okay. So with that being said, I have a very special guest with us from Overland Park, Kansas. Zhamilya Koshmambetova with Azaya Fruit Design Studio. Okay, this is a very special product, guys, and I'm a little nervous to pronounce it. Sorry, but I want to just the wrapping my mind around things like this just before I let her introduce herself for the audience as well and make sure I got everything pronounced correctly because I am nervous. I will admit it. I am transparent with the audience. That's part of being an entrepreneur is willing to fail and put ourselves out there. But I'm very impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Justin.
And
Thank you for having me.
really good product. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about your story from little you to big you to entrepreneur you. Like there's a lot here. You're a mom, you're an entrepreneur, you're building a business in a town that's about to have the World Cup launched upon it. That's won a
Yes.
lot of Super Bowls here and there. That has a lot. That's great soccer team, both women and men, and and baseball and football, I would say. You guys need an NBA team there. I think it's coming, and a hockey team probably. But
Yes.
the show is yours, so I'm turning it over to you. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your journey, and I'll definitely ask questions along the way.
Okay. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate your kind words, and definitely you did a great job pronouncing everything. I was kind of cheering for you. And I hope people out there will hear you, and NBA will be amazing, and especially hockey team. We actually have some sporting complex on Overland Park South opening now. Doors for the hockey players and whoever wants to be a professional in this field. And I have to say, I love Kansas. I love Overland Park. This city has welcomed us, I think, in 2016. Since then, we basically put the foot on the ground and said this is the location we want to be in because we have kids by this time. And comparing with the earlier years, we traveled basically multiple countries and we didn't stay over 3 years in one location. So I met my husband in Moscow when we were students and we get married there. We moved to Australia for his
I've been
work
in
project.
Moscow for the World Cup in 2018. Actually, I love this. Keep going.
Yeah, so with the World Cup, I'm looking forward because it will be definitely exciting moments for all entrepreneurs
Yeah,
and bring awareness of their business.
but
And also,
and I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were talking about meeting your husband in Moscow, and I got excited because I was actually in Moscow for the World Cup in 2018. So I didn't mean to
oh,
distract
you
you.
mean you? Oh,
Yes,
to
I've
be
actually
honest,
been there. Yep. Yep.
oh, sorry, I didn't understand you right. But
Yeah,
to be
no,
honest,
it's
like
okay.
back then, I wasn't into the soccer as I'm right now because my two boys are very into this.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you've been there. If you went there right now, if you go there right now, the Moscow has changed completely, like in terms of growing and becoming better. I know with all the situation, people have different feelings, but in terms of people, they have a like kindest people, very nice opportunities for everybody if you want to work, study. And it's a beautiful place in terms of histories, architecture. I just love visiting there. And when we moved to Australia, I, to be honest, was a little bit like had a cultural shock because that was the first English speaking country for me, and my English wasn't that good. So, but that was exciting. It's Australia is something else. It's a completely different world in the world.
Yeah.
And after 3 years, I worked basically in the fashion industry. My background, if I jump back to my childhood, is, to have the thread going from the beginning to Australia and going forward. I was born in a very artistic family, and I think this is where it starts. My mom always encouraged me in everything. She will let me do and dress up crazy way when I was a child. People come to her and would say like, why is she dressing like that? She's wearing the big t-shirt, putting the belt over, putting the high heels and like the makeup and the hairstyle. And I was like 8, I think something like that. And my mom, she is the person that not care about the different opinions of the people, that not necessarily bringing the value in the family, or just like, being around. She always look into us kids. We have like I have 2 older sisters, and see the value, the talent, what we like. And she will always encourage us to grow and learn and try new things. So I think she gave me encouragement to be myself and not hearing all other comments in life. And basically, this has helped me over the time to stick to my vision and just go and be yourself. So my oldest sister, we actually known as a 3 sisters. I have been known as a dancer because I used to dance professionally, ballroom dancing. My middle sister, she is a musician, and she's teaching vocal, how to sing. And my oldest sister, she basically can do anything. She can dance, she can sing, she can play the instruments. So she's like a super talented. Yes. So we support each other in our vision, and a lot of encouragements because they're 2 oldest sisters comes from them to me also, not to be afraid, be myself, especially in the creative way. So when I grow up, I used to dance, and this is gives me this taste, elegancy. I start feeling because we dance with the classical music, and I think I have a taste of how to dress up properly, modestly, and manners. Because in a sport, as a sportsman, you will learn the manners on the field. Even if you're competitors, you respect each other. So then I decided to study because the ballroom dancing wasn't profession. I would say I feel like I need to have a higher education. And I asked my mom's permission to move to Moscow at this point to get the higher education because the diploma will be valuable overseas, like internationally. It's bigger than the Kazakhstan. And by the way, did I say I'm from Kazakhstan?
Right, I
Um,
haven't said it yet, but that there we go, that's the connection. Yeah, absolutely.
yes, that's
Kazakhstan.
the thing. Like, Justin, I like to ask people question and their stories, but I will never have a good story about myself. I never recording that. I just have it
Mhm,
in my heart, but I never like put it on the script or
mhm.
the story.
It's beautiful stuff.
So yeah, so basically just guide me. If you hear I'm off
Yeah,
the
no, you're doing
jumping
great.
from moment to moment, just let me
Yeah,
know.
you're doing
Yeah,
great.
so
No, this is great. I love the MB moment to moment. It anchored that it was a journey to go from one place to another to pursue your dreams, and I think that's
yes,
important.
basically, yeah, I'm jumping all over the place. Looks like from the like my teenage. Yes, I was born in Kazakhstan, and I love my country. I love how it's growing right now. So, but I have to move to the Moscow. At this point, it was like 2000s. That was a big change in Kazakhstan. So I need education that will be, valid in other countries too. So I have a courage to go to Moscow. I didn't have anybody there, like my friend slash far distance relative give me a hand into, making this first step there. And basically I got the education in advertising. Again, it's creative specialty too, because I was studied to be art director in advertising agency. And we have some, Kazakh people gathered from time to time. Our embassy of Kazakhstan were so kind to gather all the students or people from Kazakhstan that is working there or just living there to kind of reconnect. And this is where I met my husband. And I don't know if I are allowed to say that story, but I hope he will not be angry at me. When I met him, my friend slash relative Madina, she introduced us, and we said, "Oh, hi, hey, hello." Later on the floor, dance floor, I saw him dancing. I approached him and I said, "Oh, you have a nice moves." Can you imagine? He told me, "I know." That I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But so the life, if it should happen to you something, you can't avoid it. Even if you don't click on the first meet, if it destines to you, you will you will meet again. So in Moscow, my at this point when I was studying in Moscow, my oldest sister, she moved to US she married there. And I really missed her and I really wanted to see her. And I actually got a visa, which is very rare thing for the student to get a visa to be approved, because we can easily stay there. We are kind of in the danger zone for American embassy to not allowing people to get the visa and stay. But I was so happy and I got on the phone with my relative Madina and I shared the news and I was so excited. And she said, "You know what is going on? Like these days, like it's exciting news. Yuri that you met in the club, he has a birthday today." And I said, "Oh, give him his number. Like, I would love to say happy birthday to him." So I texted him. So he texted me back who it is. So I introduced myself and he said, "Oh, I remember you." And he shared later with me that he was so excited that I texted him, because was basically the start of our story. We wasn't able to meet right away because he has job at this point. He was traveling to overseas, and then I was traveling when he's come back. So basically for the 6 month we was on and off the phone, and we finally met for our first kind of in-person meeting 6 months later. But we at this point know each other so well because we spent like 4 or 5 hours on the phone talking to each other, getting to know each other, asking questions. And he said, "When we met, I knew you're gonna be my wife." So he actually introduced me to his friend as his future wife. And I said, "I like this guy. He has a confidence and like I like that." So he asked my hand and I agreed. I said yes. There was also exciting moments because we had our parents there, because he also was living in Moscow as a student. No parents. We basically were independent at age 17, supporting ourselves and even supporting our families at some point. But we got married and he has an offer to move to Australia. So we are in Australia point. Yeah, right now in the story. I love Australia. Over there, I also want to learn how to speak English better. And I decided to go and work for the local designer. She's very talented, and I'm grateful for her to basically believe in me and trust me, because my English wasn't good, but I think, saw me from the creative perspective and likable. I guess this is what she said, because with the clients, it's important to have a likable personality. So she was designing her dresses for the brides. She has a honey fashion designer store, and I was helping her with the front service, and we did some adjustments, we did some preparations, measurements, fittings, and everything. That was an interesting process too. At this point, I was thinking I'm going to open my store with the evening gowns and wedding gowns. I just need to enough experience to learn the process from the beginning. And also, this is what I was noticing, that I like to analyze the businesses, how it works, how the system works. And if I liked it and I have enough creativity to do that, I feel like I can easily do that too. So that was important for me to understand the processes like of the business. I didn't open my own shop. Because we moved to Canada after 3 years living in Australia. In Canada, I didn't work because at this point I got pregnant with our first child, Artur, and I told my husband when we met that I want to be a full-time mom at some point. And he told me, like, I think this is the time your dream will come true. You just stay home and be a mom, enjoy the kids and, grow them, invest in them, because it's also a long-term investment and basically a full-time job too. After 3 years in living in Canada, we moved to Denver, and where we have basically the second child, Amir. And he's supposed to be like, according to our doctor, he should be a girl. So we have everything in the pinkish colors, like a baby shower, and we bought a house there with the pink room. So that was a kind of funny thing, because when he was born in Kazakhstan, it was April 1st. And when we said that we have a boy, they thought we are joking.
Mhm.
So, yes, moving forward, we moved to Kansas because my husband got a new project here. It was a little bit strange because Kansas, you don't hear about it, but, and to be honest, I would love to keep it like that because it will not be overcrowded then. Kansas is a beautiful place to raise a family, and it gives me the opportunity to be in a good school district in a good area with the beautiful local community. Because I'm a Muslim, we found the best masjid, the mosque here, that gives us a lot of support, because we live in Christian country, but we want to raise our kids knowing our culture and religion too. And I actually appreciate US for this, opportunities for people to save their identity and give them the field to grow and establish communities where they can educate younger generations in that. So basically, with the comfort of Overland Park, I decided that I am a mom of three at this point, with my baby girl Aisha that was born in September of 2022. I feel like I am losing my identity in terms of creativity, in terms of who I am. I start asking myself, what do I want to do when kids will grow up? And I feel this urge inside of me that I need to do something. I love my kids, I love my family, but I want to, give this freedom to my creative side of me. So I didn't know how it will be. I didn't have any plan, because you can't plan your business, you can't plan your life ahead of time. It's unpredictable. So, as I said, we have a beautiful community here, and we've been invited to, have some tea, spend time together with friends, and we bring some sweets, cakes, yummy treats that is very sugary. And we noticed that people don't eat that. They either have health issues, like diabetes, gluten intolerance, or some dietary restrictions. And I thought, like, Yuri, like, like, I feel bad. We're bringing something to enjoy together and we end up eating ourselves. I said, like, next time we should probably bring fruits. I think it will be a good option because it's natural sugar from the nature, and people can enjoy that too. So when I bought a fruit, I think that bringing the fruits in the bag will not be that presentable. It will not be that nice. I don't know. So I'm a person that like to deliver in a nice package. So I set the fruits on the platter, just to make it nicely look, and I bring it to my friend. Her name is Rihanna, and she's also been my mentor in many ways. And she was so happy to see the platter. She basically just told me, like, do you know what? You should do the business because this is what we need. Many people with the health issues, they will appreciate that because this look beautiful and everybody can eat it. And I said, like, Rihanna, like, you're too nice. Like, who will be interested in the fruits, especially if who's going to pay money to get the fruit platter? They're going to buy it in the store and just bring it home. But over the time, I'm keep bringing the fruits to the table to different friends, and it looks like it it is in demand. And people just asking me, "Can you make the fruit platter for me? Can you make the fruit arrangement? Can you carve this? Can you do this?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." And I told my husband, maybe I should start a business. So basically, unintentionally, I understood where I should go, which direction I should go. And fruit become my best friends. Even though if you asked me 10 years ago, I would be a fruit artist, I would say like, no way. I have nothing in common with the food or fruits or carving or anything like that. So basically, I start learning more techniques and ways how to present it better, how to the structures, how to the carvings, the flowers, the basically the words carved on the watermelon. And I asked my friends to give me the opportunity to serve them on their weddings on a special days, like a bigger events, because I understood that if I want to grow my business, I need to put my name out there. And I think that the best investment for me will be do something at the beginning for free. I will do the arrangements for free and just for the sake, like, for people to see what I do. Because in my community, the weddings are usually happening with 300 guests and plus. And I thought that it will be the same thing is I will invest in advertising. So many friends, they were happy to say yes because who say no to the, like beautiful arrangement that will be complimentary for them. And basically, this is how it starts. Like many people notice the fruit arrangements, and that was a completely new thing. Nobody before had that on any event. They usually bring the sweets and cakes, but with the fruit arrangement, it was something like a new breath uh, for this industry. And again, I would like to thank my community because they basically believed in me. They allowed me to show my artistic side of me through the fruits. They trust me that it will be something beautiful because they had no idea what I'm going to put on the table, especially on the wedding. They just say, yes, we trust you, do whatever you think is best for you. And this is basically how it starts. One wedding, then to another wedding, then people start calling me. They say, like, we love the fruit arrangement. Can you make something for us too? And I said, can I try something new? Do you trust me on the design or you want something specific? So they always say, we trust you. Just do whatever you think. This is our theme. This is our setting. We want the wedding to be more elegant because some of our weddings are more simple in the family, like no gathering. And slowly by slowly, basically, this is how I built my name. Yeah. And it become kind of a business.
I
um,
what I think what you're doing is beautiful, and I think that the background and design is extremely important to your story, and I want to emphasize that for the audience because we we don't get to where we're going by not compiling skills or using all the skills or the tools that we've been given. Certainly our relationships and certainly the choices that we make in our relationships, the places we live, the belief in ourselves, the willingness to keep going, to start over and over again and fail and start over and over again when we're trying to
Mhm,
build something is extremely important. And what we're talking about here, okay, because I'm going to just talk about this. I'm going to talk about Moscow
mhm,
in particular for a second and use it to anchor the
mhm,
conversation because I sort of disrupted your flow earlier. I want to apologize for that, but I also want to say I want to anchor what I saw in Moscow. What I saw in Moscow in 2018 was very interesting because what was going on there was a a city, a place trying to find its way in the world from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Now, just everyone has to keep this in mind. Restaurants, stores,
mhm,
travel, all those things exist no matter what kind of government or culture you're on. It's just a matter of how they're structured inside that government or culture. You still have to have food vendors. You still have to have restaurants. You
mhm,
still have to have
mhm.
markets. You still have to have farmers. You still have to have farmers markets. Okay, those things still exist.
Sure.
The structure just determines how they exist, maybe, but there is still an entrepreneurial mindset within those boundaries. I would just want to emphasize that for everyone. And as the world
Mhm,
exposes itself and we use our education to gain experience that gives us exposure to the world through travel, what we just talked about. I'm going to repeat it. We get an education that gives us, so we can get the experience that gives us the ability to get the exposure to
mhm.
the world, the three essential E's of leadership of any sort in life. You need your education, go get experience with that education, and then go see the world before you plan on leading in it. And that's what we're
Yes.
talking about here. And it's very important that we understand that. And the fact that we don't even ask those questions of our leaders, in my opinion, is interesting. What is your, not that education is the end all be all. Do not get me wrong. But what is your education? Did you educate? What did you grow? Did someone teach you? Did you have a mentor? Did you go work in a restaurant? Okay, what did that experience did that give you? And then how do you use it to expose yourself to more, not just get stuck in one place? That is very important because we need to understand the world as a whole. Because, first and foremost, while we're talking about geography here and we're in a place of world war and what's on the news and whatever else, and I
Mhm.
don't talk about politics, I want to just give something that we are that stupefies me would be the word, which is not a word. I don't think literally.
No, it
Um,
is.
but it but what I'm saying is we are first and
Mm,
foremost citizens of this world,
for sure.
okay?
To be honest, like,
Before
just
anything
I
else,
agree.
okay? Then in
Yes.
that, we as man or humans or women, however you wanna look at it, created the rules and the boundaries by which we didn't. God didn't, the universe didn't, the energy, whatever your belief system is, if you really look at it, it didn't we created all those things.
That
As
is so true. Oh my goodness, you basically just told me what I was saying few years ago, basically to my friends, because I started practicing Islam about 5 years ago. And people see the change in me. People who knew me before, I didn't cover, I didn't wear modest clothing. I was a modern Muslim. When learning different thing in my life basically led me to closer to be God and practicing Islam. I saw the beauty despite all these I'm sorry, stereotypes in the world. I just learn more about the religion and want to practice. Many of my friends approach me and saying, "What happened? Why did you change? You covered your head, you wearing modest clothing. Tell us more. We want to learn." So basically, I told them, despite the things happening in our life that is a hardship, that basically most of the time bring people to the God. I told them that I believe God created this world for all the people. We build the boundaries between the countries. We set the boundaries and divide the land. If you think about it, when the land was created, it was one Earth, the planet Earth. And people, just being people, we always tend to crave the leadership and power and money and just name it. I think it's also the plan, God's plan, but I told them we divided the land between the people and we create this division between the communities too. And this is our test. We have to learn from that and from the history too. So back in Moscow, when you said, I truly believe in communities, Justin, because politics is one thing. But if you look in every country that experiencing any war or difficulties, if you go and talk to people, they are beautiful human beings and they love everybody on the world. With all this happening with Ukraine and Russia, I know it's kind of not, we step aside a little bit for a second, but I just want to bring the attention that Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, we used to be USSR. Like we used to be united. We shared the meals, the culture, the mindset. We like-minded people. If I see Ukrainian or Russian or like Azerbaijani people somewhere in the store, I know this is my person, because how they walk, how they dress, I know this is like our people. And what I truly believe that people is the key. Despite what is going on with the politics, we can make the change inside the country, inside the communities. We can build our own relationship, our friendship, support system. We are human beings. It's a humanity. I think this is the right word. I don't care what is going on in politics. I'm not a politic person. I'm trying to be on top of the news in terms of like what is going on there. But locally, what I can do, I can't change it. I'm focusing in what I can do locally. I help refugees. We have a beautiful organization, KC for Refugees here. And my business basically also is partially from each order that I receive. We donate partially to the meaningful cause. And I believe the business, when you build a business, you need to give back to establish the right foundation for that. And speaking about the education, to be honest, I self-taught, self-built professional. I'm just curious mind. I love to learn more. And I was watching the videos on YouTube of other professionals, how they carve step by step thing to create the carvings and to create the animals from the fruit. I was so involved into this process and so impressed how just a basic fruit can become an art piece of art, basically in that term. So talking about this, I would say what I do, I like to perfect. And in a perspective, I would love to take a courses with the masters, I would say maybe overseas, somewhere in Europe, that they have that high-end techniques and classes to create the bigger scale sculptures. This is my ultimate goal because I want to elevate my business to something unbelievable. Like, she can make this from fruits, like to like wow effect on my arrangements. Like, but otherwise, I'm trying just to learn every time I reach my potential. Just to give you example, I start to learn how to cut the fruits in a nice way, like a straight lines. how to lay them on the platter. So once I become good at that, I said, like, I need to add something more. I learned how to carve the flowers from the strawberries, how to cut the flowers from the mango and from the oranges too. So once I learned that technique, I add this to the platter and it changed the whole look. So I said, okay, I know that. I know how to carve different type of flowers. Now I want to elevate. So I was looking for inspiration online, and as you were saying, international experience. I think TikTok, Instagram gives you this opportunity kind of travel through the countries, because many of the chefs and designers that do the fruit artistry, they're from Europe, and some of them are from Asia too. I learned that from them. So I can say I traveled to Europe to learn how to carve the fruits, and some parts of Asia too. So I also, like, I'm so grateful to internet and the social media. As they say, if you use your social media and time that you spend online in a wise way, in a smart way, you can basically learn a lot and you can actually improve yourself. And this is what I did. And I'm still doing that. I'm constantly looking for new things, for new inspirations. And more you learn, more you explore, the knowledge that you gain, the experience that you gain gives you inspiration to create your own pieces, gives you inspiration to become with your own arrangements, to go crazy and add grander style installment in terms of, from the fruit platters, you go to the fruit table setups where you decorate and you add some decor items like flowers, greenery, candles, luxury white risers, the personalized watermelon carving with your names or logo or initials or the flower or the animal, depends on the theme of the event. And you basically elevate and you add more and add more. And every time I see people, they just more and more impressed. And I noticed that it gives them inspiration too, but also it gives the celebration the whole new look. Basically, with the fruit table setup, with the level like that, presentation like that, you don't just have a fruits on your table. You make a statement on your celebration. You elevate, and it's not becoming just the fruit that you feed your guests. It becomes a part of art exhibition. Because many guests I see, I sometimes stay behind the scenes just to look. As any artist, I have fears that I did something wrong, I missed something, I not delivered for 100%. Like the perfectionists that live in every entrepreneur. So I hide behind the corner and I look how the people react on the fruit table setup. And many times I see that people just gather around the fruit table setup and just talk like you're in the gallery. And you trying to understand what the artist trying to tell through his art and creation. And it gives me good feeling because I feel like I delivered. Because weddings is, for me, is a special, as well as a baby showers. I feel like this is something, beginning of something new life or new chapter in your book. And for the weddings, I try to do even more than I initially talked to the client. So for me, it's a big compliment when people just come and talk and just look at the table. And most of the time they just say, like, how we can eat that? It's impossible to eat. You don't want to ruin the beauty of that. And at this point, I've kind of labeled myself like, okay, I got it. And at the same time, I ask myself the question, how can I make it even better? What I can do more to take it to the next level. and I go online. We don't unfortunately have too much artists that work with the fruits here locally. That's why the only source that I learn from is basically internet. And inspirations that I got from Instagram is sometimes give me ideas and techniques. I like to watch Russian masters that teach you online how to carve the fruits, because for some reason, I don't know, they work look clean. It's almost like you're looking not at the fruit, but you look at the fake product. Like, it's not real. Like you ask, like, is it real fruit or not? So that's why I like the quality, the level of the, how you say it correctly in English. Sorry, English is my first language, so I'm trying to deliver the thought. It's so clean. The work is so clean and accurate. It elevates the work itself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so yes. So online, basically, for now, is my inspiration and the source of education. But in the future, when I grow and my kids will grow too, and I will have more time to travel, I would love to meet a professional that can teach me more, and, like, more difficult techniques, how to create bigger structures and how to go basically next level with my work. Yes, but I agree with you, Justin. The international experience is crucial, because every country, they have something unique that we don't have, and we think that we reach our top, but there's always someone that just, like, come up with something amazing, and you just go there and you want to learn from them.
I think this is it's important because I curiosity, or what I'll call a childlike curiosity, being always interested is a very important key to life. I feel like the enjoyment of life, no matter how short or long it is,
Uh-huh.
for us, debatable on how we feel about that. But the truth being that the energy that we give to this world has everything to do with our curiosity to learn from the world and realize that we don't know a lot, but we
For
can know
sure.
as much as we can. Okay, so
For sure.
what
Never stop. Never stop. And don't, if you even reach the top, you are successful. Keep learning, because you can be an inventor. You can this is basically the purpose of our life, always going forward and improve ourselves and learn. Oh, I forgot to say and mention that I learned everything with the advertise my business, how to make the flyers, how to make the business cards. Also, I self-taught, and I intuitively I make some steps to basically improve my business. I don't know, I am struggle with that a little bit, how to do that, like with the managing side of the business. I'm a more creative. I am responsible for creative side of business, and my husband is a huge help with the handling all the finances, taxes, like
yeah.
all this. Oh my goodness, Justin, I don't know what would I do without him, because this is not me. I would be struggle a lot, but you need to have someone you trust to basically guide you and help you, and at sometimes motivate you, because he sometimes tells me, you're overthinking. This is beautiful. You just keep going. Or he would tell me, you know what? You underprice yourself. This is not just the fruits on the plate. You create the artistic art basically on the table. If you underprice yourself, people will not appreciate that. And you have to focus on the people that find the value in that. They will be kind of appreciative in terms of having this arrangement on their celebration, and they understand. Not many people understand art, right? If you go to art exhibition, some people, they say, I just see the, like, painting and that's it. And some people, they just know, they love to watch. They stand in front of the art piece hours, understanding what the artist trying to say through this creation. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No,
I
no,
just
no,
need to
I
share
agree
that.
with you 100%. You didn't interrupt me at all. And, I just think that what we're talking about here is, again, the partnership, the willingness that our relationships translate into more in our lives, business
Mhm,
relationships. We grow and our dynamics change for sure, which I think is important for everyone to understand. Also, one of the things I think is important here is when we get experience and we educate ourselves and we get exposure, it gives us a lot of things. It gives us emotional intelligence. It gives us
mhm,
the ability to express ourselves effectively. It gives us the energy to keep going through failure. Okay. That's
true,
what we're talking about here for the audience. And then what it does is it gives us the ability to achieve more. Okay. It
true,
gives us the
true.
ability to set the goal even bigger. Okay. Or come up with even better products or something different. And we're talking about here is bigger, better, the art by which you are doing and the food I think is important. Here's why what I'm also going to say that's important. This type of thing has been
Mhm,
done since kings and queens and emperors and gold has been used as currency or whatever.
mhm.
And people have been
Yeah.
using food as art or display or banquets or in castles and food halls and whatever. And I just want everyone to understand that display of food and our putting love into food is part of the energy by which I'm talking about. We translate that in, we give that experience. People enjoy it. They take them with them. And when they come back and eat or they remember the moment where they had a product, which
Yes.
is what we're talking about, that is the
Mm,
energy that's important that serves this world. And whether we attach it together or not, or it's funny science, I'm gonna say it to this and I'm gonna take this full circle for everyone. Okay, let's argue let's argue this. Let's look at the
mm,
universe as a big universe. Let's look at this. There's an abundance of gold and metal and diamonds throughout the entire universe on many planets because carbon, okay? And what there's
mhm,
a lack of is life, okay? Trees, animals, humans, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So the most precious thing in the creation of the universe is life itself. Okay. And if
mhm,
God, which I believe in, and I'm a creator, which I believe he is, I'm instilling free will because I have the ability to create. And then from creation, in my likeness, I want you to go create more in the worldwide because it creates jobs, it creates opportunity, it creates future, hopefully for animals, plants, the planet, the universe. So we go spread it in a universal standpoint. So when we look at our differences here on Earth, and I get it, and we draw lines. But what if we looked at it as a perspective that these perspectives or these territories that we're thinking we want to go conquer are actually that is instilled in us for a greater purpose, not the one by which we're living now. And our mindset needs to focus on conquering and bringing life to a greater good. Okay, how do we do that as entrepreneurs? And everyone's like, Justin, I'm just worried about my donut shop. What are you talking about?
mhm.
Yes, here's what I'm talking about in your donut shop. We have the ability to build family legacies, to create jobs, to create opportunities, to create better ways of thinking and influence people and impact them in the
Mhm,
way that we do our lives and we do our businesses. Okay. Now, and I've talked about this a lot. One thread weaves the blanket or the Afghan or the sock, however we want to look at it, whatever our sense of humor is, of our life when we're dead. When we look back and we're dead, that however good we lived our lives is by how we're defined, and it's not the money. Okay. The money's great, don't get me wrong. And I believe in it, and legacy needs money, and there should be trust and set up for your legacy and your businesses so they have the ability to
yeah,
lead on properly. Because if you don't do it properly, then you just spent a lifetime building something that your kids can't benefit from. Okay, that's sad. Just so everyone knows, that's sad. And but
yeah,
what we do have the ability to do now in the world is build things in a way and learn from things and see the world as a whole as entrepreneurs and influence the world of tomorrow. Okay. No matter what happens with AI, there's certain industries and certain things in the world that are still essential to the human being. You can't
mhm,
put the loving energy into food mechanically that you can as a human. okay? The human touch is part of what makes food great, okay? It's part of what makes us break bread, and I wanna just say that because I think when we look at the world or we look at what we wanna do or the adventures that we have or the influence that we have or our impact in the world, it's one thing, okay? How are
Yes.
we growing the world around us for a better future to potentially do what we just talked about? The thing is, the humans at some point, everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna run out of food or we're gonna outgrow our planet." The likelihood that if we take on a mentality of a universal mentality, one kingdom under God or a world citizenship, however we wanna frame it for ourselves, the
Mhm.
more likely we are gonna be able to keep growing and then figure out ways to grow beyond ourselves. We are capable of that. We have been gifted with the ability of our creator to create ourselves.
True. To be honest, Justin, if you don't mind me to say while I will not lose the thought, recently I heard a phrase from the lady. She's a Russian scientist. She's learning everything about the brain, neural connections, and everything. She told me recently she was thinking about the creator, God as a creator, and he created us people. And if you think about it, he created little creators because in our mind we create our realities, we create our world. This is what we do. The thought, everything starts with a thought, then it starts with the action, then it follows by the result, right? And this is what brings the consequences from the action. So basically what you do is you think of us as a, because they say, I don't know, I think it's in Bible too, the God created people like him, like I don't know the exact yes, like it doesn't mean that he has a nose or ears or like legs or doesn't have a like
Yeah.
other features. So basically he gives this opportunity for us to make decisions to create something. And here I think that understanding that I understand that maybe some the audience are not believe in God, different belief system. But for me, how I look in my life and the world around me, I believe there is a one creator who created the world, and he created the people, and he gives them abilities, same 24 hours a day, eyes, legs, brain, education. Everything is available equally for everybody. So what I'm trying to say is basically it comes to your decision to do something or not to do something. And everything is in your hands, but you have to understand no matter how we live here, God give us, each of us, how you explain it correctly, Justin? Like we assigned to a certain amount of wealth on this earth. In my religion, it calls a risk. So whatever God is destined for you to have, nobody can take it away, no matter how they try. And if there is something He doesn't want you to have, nobody can give you. And in my business, there is a risk like financial success, the money wise, because some entrepreneurs, they're worried about the money, they're worried about the competition. I have to say that in my field, I don't see any competition here because our like big companies like edible arrangements been closed in Overland Park, unfortunately. So I'm the only one. I don't experience the competition, and in some way, maybe I'm blessed with that, and I appreciate, but I don't take it as a, like granted. I do my best to deliver the service like a high end service, but at the same time, I'm trying to explain to my friend vendors that there is a risk in everything for everybody. And even if you worry about the competitors, they will not be able to take your part of income because it's assigned to you by God and nobody can take it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if something you want, but it doesn't destined to you, no matter what you do, it will not be there for you, because there is a higher meaning and a wise meaning in that. Because sometimes you see people win a lottery, like a huge money, right? And a person not ready for that. It leads to some damage, like they become making the bad decisions. I don't want to name like and be negative on that. If you're not prepared, that's why it's very crucial, important to
Yeah, it
educate yourself,
happens to
to learn.
professional athletes. One that
Yes,
went
yes,
to.
yes. When you got this money, when you got success, you're ready for that. And if God doesn't give you success, maybe you still have to improve yourself in some things. Don't discourage yourself. Keep working, keep being inspired by other things. Also, I feel that in Kansas, it's like amazing vendor community. One of the, like, I think it's a group of vendors, like a monthly merriment, charitable events too. They organize charitable events too. They gather all vendors to help them, like, show their creations, what they do, and take their names out there. So, and I think this is very important, that the local small businesses will support each other despite, all this competition. Because again, you are building a community as any other community. If you help each other, there is a blessing into that. As a spiritual person, when you understand that, your worries about small and big things, they fading away, because you are fully trust God in his terms, in his footage that he assigned to you. Everything happens in the right moment, and you just have to be patient. You just have to do everything that possible from your side. If you struggle, because this is a blessing too. You need to struggle to become better, because there is no improvement in comfort. you know there is no motivation. Maybe something will be given to you to motivate you to stand up and do something. So basically, everything that happens in your life, you have to look at that it happened for a good reason. But again, you have to be optimistic, but at the same time, just be okay with not being okay. you know it's Find your buddy, find a mentor, go out there and find inspiration, ask question. That's why we need a community who will open your doors. The other vendor, for example, if I go there and I ask, how do you build your Instagram? Because I'm not Instagram person. I'm kind of, I should say, maybe I have to say now, I'm from old generation. Not very on Instagram, but I like to promote my business through my work. But I know Instagram is a huge in businesses right now. It can promote and give you awareness to other people. But I'm not good in that. And my friend, she owned the business like Nivis mini pancakes cart. Oh my goodness, she's so talented. And I just go there. I don't have this, ego. I just go there and say, what do you do to become so good? She will share with me, because she's not scared. She knows that once she shared with me, it will improve and benefit me and benefit her, because I recommend her business too.
Yeah.
And when we switch this mindset from, being competitive and, like sometimes feeling negativity, switching that towards helping each other and benefit each other and build a relationship that will improve our businesses, I think that will change the whole thing. But again, struggle is a part of the building business. I think that's why we need a buddy. I don't know if you experience that, because you are a big entrepreneur too. I don't know if
Mm,
you experience that in your businesses or not.
mm. This is
But it's
going to be an
healthy.
This is a good question, actually. When I'm gonna highlight this just from a legacy entrepreneur standpoint.
Mm,
There is one
yes.
thing about me that I think that allows me to handle life in a different way. I don't know if it was passed down. I don't know if it's the immigrant mentality, for lack of a better term. I don't know if it's East Coast mentality. I don't know if it's also Mediterranean or Italian ingenuity thing, being from Naples and long lineage of well diggers and construction and, thousands of years being involved in those businesses. And but what I do know is that I have a tolerance and for things, and I have an understanding of business because it was taught to me at such a young age because I was so curious while other kids were curious about, whatever. I just wanted to play soccer and I wanted to learn business. I wasn't a great student, guys, and I certainly wasn't a great undergraduate student as I was trying to build food service partners with my father and business partners out of my family's basement and, you know, do all of Kaiser and Permanente's Northern California hospitals and learn all of that and build all that. And I made a lot of mistakes because I was so young and we grew so fast and, did tens of millions and then hundreds of millions of dollars in food and business and grew into restaurants and food trucks and restaurant equipment and supplies and technology and POS systems and podcasting and media and, you know, doing things for shows that Gordon Ramsay was doing. And so we learned a lot by not saying no necessarily unless it was bad. And we made a lot of mistakes along the way. But from this standpoint, what I will say from a buddy system, it took me a long time to find the individuals that I related to or that I could feel not lost in. Probably until I was about 38, 39. I'm 46 right now. Did I actually understand where to find or how to find proper buddy systems? And a lot of it anchored in this podcast, just so everyone knows. I'd met people like Dennis of Chicken and Waffle and Jerusalem Cafe out of Kansas City, where we're talking about where Overland Park is. They do have locations there in Overland Park. And I've been to them and Dennis and, I've met Adam, his brother, a bunch of times and what they're doing with the commissaries, since that is my background. That's how I did hospitals. I've been able to help them a lot the last 4.5 years and still working with them and talked to them for an hour yesterday. I was driving from Cleveland to Baltimore. These relationships that we have and build, it took me a while to figure out where to get them. Okay. And I often, because my companies were so big and I was on the road all the time, mistook business relationships for friendships or mentorships or buddies that I needed in business. Okay. And so from that standpoint, just so everyone knows, I made a lot of big mistakes and trusted a lot of the wrong people for a very long time in my life. I was able to learn how to build and scale and be an entrepreneur from my mom in a lot of ways. And my dad taught me what it was like to build corporate companies on a global scale, considering Cater Air was a global company that did food for airplanes all over the world. And he worked for Marriott and did help build that company in the 80s all over the world from a food business into a hotel business. It was part of, all the food parts and then Marriott in-flight services becoming Cater Air through a private equity deal by the Carlyle Group. And so there's a lot of these experiences. And I went to private school and middle school because I wanted to play soccer and travel the world to play soccer and high school and all boys school. And which was Catholic based, but also based in Opus Dei, which everyone knows from the Da Vinci Code. Which is mistook. The thing about Opus Dei that taught me is that we are at service. When I pray, I'm on two knees. I can be standing to pray, but my best position is actually on one knee, bowing to God, where I'm ready to serve Him as a warrior. I'm also ready to be disciplined in my service to Him as a servant to the world, as an entrepreneur, meaning I say this all the time, no one likes it. I'm the person at the end of the circus cleaning up the mess as a leader. I'm not leading from the front. That's generally not what happens. If I need to lead from the front, it's during times of need and necessity. What I'm doing is I'm building and I'm learning as everything happens to put in proper operations, structure, new creation I've learned from the past to do that. Okay. So back to buddy system just to close the loop because I went in a big circle there. For me, for Justin, this entrepreneur podcast probably saved my life. Okay. And
Wow.
here's why. Because when the companies did whatever and food service partners did whatever 4 years ago, and we made a lot of mistakes as a family, as business partners, as being loyal to individuals that weren't loyal to us, those type of mistakes we make, people that are only in it for the money, a lot of things that you just need to be aware of. Money is important, don't get me wrong, guys, from a profitability
Mhm.
standpoint, because you need to be able to create jobs and you need to be able to do the right thing. But you also need to be aware of those who are in it just for that, and that is their sole motivation, because you can't create greatness and goodness in the world if that's the only motivation. It just
Mhm.
doesn't happen. Okay. It should be the other way around. If I create goodness and greatness in the world, people will be willing to pay for it from me because they see value in it. And I can use that value to create jobs, opportunities, help families put their kids through school, help legacy, help others have the time to find their relationship with God, so on and so
Yes.
forth.
Yes, I mean to that,
Yeah.
Justin. And I think somebody should interview you on your podcast. There is so many things I love to hear, and I think there is so many things you can share with us too. Not only like you asking us question, but I think you can teach us so many things from your experience. You not only have successful business, but also internationally wise and size wise, it's like it's big businesses
Yeah,
that you are on.
and here's what I'm gonna anchor for everyone because I think it's important, and am I keeping you? And I know that we went over and stuff, and I wanna just make sure we finish this show. Are you still good with time?
Oh yes, yes, sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
perfect. I wanna just anchor this for everyone because, my life fell apart in a way that I can't explain to anyone on a level that could only be of God's doing, and I could never figure it out. For it took me a long time, and I, spent some time in seminary, which I haven't finished, which I plan on finishing at some point, doing my Master of Divinity in Leadership and finishing that because I'll never give up on it. It's just life has kind of taken me in a different direction temporarily to go build and then go back to it. But the thing that I learned there was this, and I think it's important for everyone. The grounding lesson for me, which changed my life, is one, to have a to be able to be of service and to sharpen someone else, in the biblical phrase, iron sharpens iron.
Mhm,
I had to be iron myself, but in order to be iron, I had to first form a relationship with God, a proper one, and I've had one my entire life, just so everyone's aware. God instilled in me that I need to positively pollinate the world from when I was a kid, and very bad something happened to me, which, you know is for another conversation, but it
mhm,
anchored me in a way for the rest of my life, and I would choose to go to the Heights School in Potomac, Maryland, and go to an all boys school and be first discipline myself in the world. And then when my life fell apart and I deconstructed, I kind of came back to a point where I understood that the more time we spend with God, the more it transfigures our life. Okay. And that
mhm,
is an important thing. The more time we spend in our relationship with God, discussing things in God, the more important it is. The other thing I came to understand is the miracles, and I keep saying this to everyone, and they keep asking me, is the miracle from a Christian standpoint, from our belief system, but it's true everywhere. Okay. In the
mhm,
Holy Spirit, okay, the first thing that changes, and here's where it's true for everyone, is that the miracle happens when it changes in me first. It does not happen when the rest of the world sees it. The rest of the world sees it long after that changed in me. What changed me, what drove me, what gave me the obsession to change my life, to change the world, to go be an artist or a chef or start a food business is the miracle. The miracle is it seen by the outside world in the transformation and the transfiguration of my relationship with my obsession to be able to give other people jobs. That miracle is then seen by the
mhm,
outside world. But what we have to understand is that first thing, if I'm going to be of service to a buddy or a buddy is going to be of service to me, I've got to offer something to them. Two,
mhm.
even if it's a mentor-mentee relationship, I've gotta offer willingness. And where God is willing, I also have to be willing. And that's the thing that I learned from all this, and I think and you make a great point where there's the creation, but we are also creators. He is not going to do for us what he expects us to do for ourselves, but he's also not gonna give us something that's not part of the plan. Because in the universal system of energy, we know when we're going down a wrong path. You know when you're in the wrong job. If anyone
Oh,
hasn't gone
sure.
through being an entrepreneur yet, you know when you're in the wrong place. You know
Uh-huh.
when you're inside. For me, I the Holy Spirit is like, things are going whatever. I have a lot of anxiety. What's going on here? You need to keep moving, but you maybe need to move in a different direction or to a different location. And geography is part of the story. Moses moved his location. It was part of his story. He was forced to get out of Egypt. If we're going to talk biblically, John,
Yes.
and that is because it had to be done. It is when we stop resisting it, guys, and open your minds to the possibility of we need to go, we need to grow, and we need to become a greater part of the world around us on a global scale for the betterment of the world. And that is what an entrepreneur is, just for us. And while we're having this, is we've been given a great gift, guys. It's what are we going to do with it?
True. And I think, Justin, to add to that, I share with my people that God can basically descend to you personally and say, you are not doing the right things. Change this path. Don't do that. He will send us people, situations, things that not going right, challenges, so we can stop and think, are we doing this right? What I am doing, where I am going. So basically reevaluate everything that you do from time to time. That's why I believe that, as you said, like you have to build a relationship with the God, because the best gift as a human beings we have here too is our intuition. I might be wrong into that, but I notice, w- however logical you can be,
Right.
sometimes logics can make mistakes. That's why I think we need to hear our voice inside, the intuition, and this is how the God speaks to us. I think, because as you said, you can feel that you are not doing something right. You can feel it, as you say, like there is guts. I feel with my guts, right? So, and also to kind of secure to your path with the good deeds.
Mm,
I'm not sure in the Christianity, but I believe in every religion
yeah.
to give back.
Yeah.
It keeps this balance. You can't have everything in this life, in this world. You have to share. You have to give back. That's why there are a lot of charitable events, and in my religion too, we have to give back, like charitable thing. We have a sadaqah and zakat money. Sadaqah is optional. You can support local charities, and zakat is basically that you must give percentage of your savings to the needy people and the good cause. So this is how the communities manage to fight the poorness and low income. And I'm telling you, if the whole world will follow these rules to give back, I don't believe there will be needy people around here. But at the same time, I trust God's plan, because by seeing people who doing less, like not well as we are, we kind of develop this humbleness and gratefulness for what we have, and willingness to help from what you earn. It only benefits you as a person and only benefits you as a business owner, and your business too. I think this is also something that helps me to like moving forward and build the right business. And kind of when people hear that we support the charitable events and organizations from what we earn, I think they feel that they're part of something bigger. They're not just getting the fruits or any other service from other businesses. They will feel that they part of something good and meaningful, and they will feel good about it, and they will be loyal to you because they understand your values are in line. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like shift the mindset from earning money, 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 and doing the business only to gain money and become rich, towards how can I make impact to the communities, to the humanity, to the people on this world? How can I make this world better? Because even small thing that like a butterfly effect, like a small thing
Right.
can change and reflect in the world, not only in your city. It can change the whole world, probably.
And I think that what we're talking about here is very important for everyone. And I think we don't know our impact, but when we think about it from a legacy standpoint or a generational standpoint, or the
Sure.
impact that we can have, we start to look at our businesses in a way. And yes, do they need to take care of our families and the families of those that work for it, and vendors and everyone else? Yes, it's very important. But we also need to understand that one of the things that happens, and we mentioned it earlier, is people are, we'll call it modesty, we'll call it discipline, we'll call it consistency. But what happens when you get closer to God and you remove some maybe sin patterns, some maybe unnecessary things, some maybe insecurities, what's actually happening is there's a removal of energy that is a distraction from where you are needing to go, okay? And what
Mhm.
happens in a relationship with God and an understanding that I will call it from a Christian standpoint of bringing heaven to earth, because yes, in our way we transcend, but in another way the ultimate goal is to make it universal, where we live such good lives and we take such good care of the animals and the plants and the planet and
Mhm.
ourselves, that heaven is earth also, or heaven is the universe also, okay, in this
Mhm.
life and the next life, however we look at it. And why am I saying that? Because if that is the ultimate goal, okay, and we look at life through that lens, what it allows us to do and build in our businesses and our perspective and in its longevity is greatness, okay, for our families, for our communities, for those around us. And I don't know why, and I don't know where the system comes from, but it is ingrained in us as human beings to survive. It's also ingrained in us to be a family and be in community and
Mhm.
be in growth with one another and support one another. And for whatever reason, it's also instilled in us to make sure our species survives at whatever cost, even if it means I don't survive me personally. Okay.
True.
That is pretty big instinct. Okay. That's beyond just survival of my animal instinct. That's me surviving because I'm a creator. That's also in our basic, if we really peel it back, and understanding that the world needs us as human beings and creators to go keep creating and building in the universe that we're in. And I'm going to just emphasize that for everyone. And when we create things with food and we take what's been given to us, okay, God gave us the tree, we created the chair. Okay. It's important to understand,
Mhm.
okay,
So
it's
true.
given to us by our shared Father and Creator is so we can continue to create. We're not done here yet. And there shouldn't be the mistake of, oh, we're supposed to live a certain way or not a certain way. What we're supposed to do is keep growing and using the tools that have been given to us and the growth for positivity to keep growing humanity, but also everything else God's created, the animals, the plants, the trees, the world. How do we continue to allow life to grow on and stay here?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that
I
is
also think like we have to be okay with things like, I notice sometimes, I think that I want to make this life for myself so I will be good. Everything will be good, the comfort, the stability. We all urge that as a human beings. But at the same time, looking back in the history, we've been challenged by power and money. And many civilizations fell down and not exist anymore because they overdo that. Like Pharaoh, right? For example, he was thinking that he is a god,
yeah,
and God is trying to show us in the history too. But also, one thing lately hit me. We have a story about Yusuf. I think in Christianity is Joseph, if I'm not mistaken. I wish
Yes, yes,
I knew
yeah.
that, yes,
Mhm.
better. So he was in prison and he can interpret what is it, the word, the
Yeah.
dreams.
Yeah.
So the king saw a dream with the seven cows that are fat, they well doing, like, healthy and good, giving the all the milk and all abundance and everything. And he saw another seven cows that were skinny, sick, and not doing well. So he was looking for somebody who explained him that dream. And Yusuf basically did a good job explaining that there will be 7 years of goodness, that everything will be good in your kingdom. There will be abundance, and you have to take care and save some things and produce and everything for your kingdom, because the following 7 years will be a challenging one. There will be lack of food. There will be like bad times for you, basically. So for me, when I heard that, and I said, like, this is basically how life is built. We can't expect things to be good all the time. We just need to, when things are good, we have to do our best and enjoy this moment. But at the same time, remember that times might come, they will be challenges and not a good times. So be prepared for that mentally and physically and financially. That's why I think we need the spiritual and a relationship, good relationship with the God, because this is what help people keep going. And this is most of the time where people become believers, when they go through the difficulties and challenges, and be, like, keep going. As you always say, consistency, right? Be consistent in what you're doing. It's a good time or bad time. Don't stop. Don't get comfortable. Just keep going, keep growing, and give back with the money or your knowledge or mentorship. So the balance and the system will work for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna anchor this
Mhm.
story for everyone because I think it's important. As I want to give everyone your information and Instagram, and I'm gonna invite you back on because I think we need to continue the conversation and dive more into your business and your business experiences. I need to focus on that too for you, and I want to do a part two right away with you and sign it up just so the audience knows. But I want to emphasize the keeping going thing and not stopping because it's an important lesson for life in general. As I coach youth soccer, as you
Mhm.
continue to get beaten down, as we continue losing, or the score running up because we're a losing rec team that turned into a club team, and of course we're a losing club team now, and but we show up and we keep practicing and we keep going, and these lessons are important in life. Why? We're not, but we know we're not getting used to losing. But what we are doing is we're facing adversity head on, and we're facing our own defects head on in a sport that's teaching discipline and consistency in a safe environment. So it prepares us to be adults and leaders in the world. That's the goal in sport. What I'm going to take further from there in our conversation here is that we have the ability to use our businesses in our lives and our communities and our relationships and be citizens and do things that we were talking about here. I also want to make sure I mention that, you know, let's talk about where the world is right now.
Mm.
And let's talk about Kansas City Overland Park because I want to anchor this. I want to anchor Kansas City because there's Denver's not didn't keep the World Cup because Mexico City got the altitude city. But Kansas City is a World Cup. There's a lot of renovations going on there. We anchored Moscow. I was there for the 2018 World Cup, as well as Kaliningrad and St. Petersburg. Those are the three cities we went to watch 7 different matches. We did see Russia play. It was pretty awesome. Brazil and Morocco twice, and Spain, phenomenal time. France, Belgium. We got to see Belgium as well. So we got to see all these great teams. Very lucky, very blessed to have that experience and be able to go to that part of the world. And we spent time in Estonia while we were there, as well as in Sweden, bouncing back and forth because we were there for 3 weeks for the World Cup, basically. And as a family with my stepdaughter at the time and then her friend, and I couldn't beat that experience, honestly. And it gave me a perspective of Russia and whatever. And I'm going to anchor this for everyone also. I've studied Russian history in high school as a class, and I took it as an elective in college. Listen, I studied Spanish, Latin American history, Latin American culture, Latin American literature with the concentration in international business and management. That's most of my life because Latin American culture made sense to me being in the food industry and understanding it, considering trading and all that based on whatever. Now we're global, so I've had to learn other languages and learn other things and and trying to go to seminary, trying to get through ancient Hebrew and ancient Greek and just crazy things I learned Latin in high school. So listen, guys, whatever we learn or whatever we think AI is going to teach us, keep learning anyway. That's all I'm going to say to you. That's where I'm going to go with that. I don't remember my full point that I was trying to get to, but I do want to say this. When we think about doing something or when someone comes to us or a relationship and our idea and it seems scary or people want to bail on us or whatever, we just keep going. Okay. And I'm going to go, actually, I know where I'm going with this. You have to keep going. You cannot give up and you need to stay moving because here's why in life. Okay. And why I was talking about soccer, why I'm talking about business, why I'm talking about believing is recently I was driving from Denver to Ohio and there was a snowstorm. It was supposed to be north of me about 200 miles. So I was like, oh, I won't take 80 to get to Cleveland to visit my family. I'll take 70 the whole way and then cut north at Columbus. And I hit snowstorms the whole way, like white out snowstorms. Like I have 4-wheel drive and stick shift. Love my car. Will believe in. I believe in Ford big time. But I also believe in Mini Cooper Countryman all-wheel drive with snow tires on them. Like you would not believe. My dog and I getting through that, lasting the 2 days, of snowstorm after snowstorm, having to stop and then keep moving so we didn't get stuck for days at a time, but we had to keep moving. I had to sleep when I could. I had to go through an experience that I should have probably not put myself in, but the timing and where I need to go and where I needed to be and the time that I need to be for was important to me for my family. So once I was already committed, I couldn't turn around either because going backwards would have meant worse than going forward. And there's a movie with Matthew McConaughey that just came out on Apple. If anyone has Apple TV, he's a school bus driver in a real life scenario. It's a true story in Northern California about forest fires that happen up there, where he's a school bus driver that just happens to be in the right situation with an empty bus at the right time to pick up students that are stranded at a school that's about to go up in fire. And then he has to get them out of the situation where everyone's stopping and people are stopping and panicking. He has to keep going. It's the same scenario in business. It's the same scenario in life. It's the same scenario with your family. It's the same scenario if you're traveling somewhere and something bad or you're starting to get a feeling that something bad's going to happen. You got to keep moving. Do not stop to address the situation. If it feels bad, do not stop. Keep moving. Figure out where you are in your surroundings and get somewhere safer. But do not stop. That's the worst thing you can do, honestly. The reason people get in bad situations is because they stop or they spend too much time in a situation or a place they shouldn't. The same is true in business. If you want to get in trouble with your business, stay in a place you shouldn't be for very long, with a group of people you shouldn't be around with for a very long time. Okay? It's so true.
That
So,
is so true. And Justin, I think we should also maybe give some perspective on how not to stop. What do you like think?
yeah.
I personally think that when you believe in your product, when you what you do in your artistry, in your hands, what they are capable of, and what you create with these hands and your vision, basically your vision helps you keep going, even when people come and tell you, I don't think it's going to work, and only you who believe in what you do can keep going. Oh, actually, there is a movie about it. I forgot the name, but there is a Jewish mom raising a child with a deformed foot. And everybody is telling her he will not be able to walk. And he's keep believing that she even prays to God, and every morning she checks out his foot and it's still like defective and like deformed. And then she just keep going, keep going. Everybody's saying like just stop, it's a fact he will not be able to walk again, like, and never walk at all. But her belief in her child and her belief that miracles that happens and she just have to keep looking, she was actually convinced, because she was so sure about her vision. She was be able to convince a doctor to take this child and take a risk and do the procedure. So this convincing mind, like, this belief, make other people accommodate your vision, even
Yeah.
if they don't believe. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think this is, I don't know if you agree with, but you have more experience in the business. Do you think this is something that potentially can help people keep going? Because we can
Yeah.
say keep going,
Li-
but
Listen, I don't, oh gosh, this is a good topic and it's a great question. The thing about, I don't know how to explain it, and I'm gonna say this again I'm gonna talk about it from a spiritual standpoint because I think in its purest form, this is essential. When we eliminate the distractions or the things that are weighing us down in the world, and I'm going to use distractions because if anyone knows or follows me or has heard me talk recently, I talk a lot about the D's of the devil. And I use D words to help define it to keep us away from it because we know sin, we know how horrifying it is. But what's between sin? What's between good and sin, because there's a long road in between before we get to the bad place. And I call those the D's of the devil because they're like disinformation and they get there. But here's why I want to talk about this. Because a lot of what goes on, in the same way that God wants us to succeed and follow his plan and will not give us what he doesn't want us to have, there's also the ability for the world, others, humans, to play a part in not allowing us to have those things that God wants for us. Okay. I do believe in that. And I do see that. So, in the essence of that, and being able to have the spirituality to get through that, there's one thing that's clear in the world that's true. Time, we have no control over it. We have no, it's not man-made. It's no matter what, we all fall victim to it. We could try to extend our lives, we can suspend our lives, we can do whatever, but at some point, we're talking about right now, time is our greatest resource. Maybe that will change. But in that, we have the ability with the time that we have to deliver the most energy to whatever we're doing. So, from a spiritual standpoint, I see that as we get closer to God, or we find our way with God and our relationship with God, because it has to be individualized, okay? Because if I really wanted to take it deep, I will tell you that God's language is numbers. We all have a universal language, the thing that makes us consistent as humans, ultimately, with our being, with the trees, with life in general, is we all have carbon, we all have those things, but everything we understand is still numbers based. Okay.
mhm.
Physics, music, math, recipes, we all use the same measurement. Accounting's been around. It's probably the oldest profession. We were accounting for our people and our resources before whatever. I know people say prostitution. That's a lie. Okay. That's not true. We were accounting for our tribe, our people, our family, our resources, what we could grow, how we could survive way before we did anything else. It was the most important thing we did as a group. To survive, we had to account for all of our things and keep track for it. That's the oldest texts, and some of the oldest documents are just mere accounting of how much grain they had. Okay, as I studied in seminary, and you're looking for ancient documents, and I know 90% disappeared in Alexandria when it burned to the ground in ancient Alexandria. But what we do know is that as human beings, as builders, as creators, we have to account, we have to standardize, we have to have a formula, a way of accounting for things that is there can be no lies, that only God's truth exists. Okay? That is numbers. Okay? Just for everyone. So in that also, from an energy standpoint, to keep going, I don't let the numbers lie to me. Okay. I always make sure I'm accounting for my dollars, and I'm doing accounting, and I'm always basing it. So at some point I'm always doing my part to understand the picture through what I would call God's language, the numbers of my business, the feedback of the humans in the relationship, because God also talks through us and the energy we give one another, and the people around us, and how we support our community, and grow the people and that he created, or the universe he created. How are we giving back to him in that way? And that's my opinion. So how do I keep going? When I'm in the wrong path, guys, or I'm going down the wrong path, I cannot get anywhere. I spent
Mhm.
a long time learning the hotel business over the last 3 years because I really enjoyed it, and my family with Marriott and all that, and I did really well at it, and I felt I grew in it, but it did not open up life in the way that I wanted to, because it was something that I was learning, because I wanted to be more curious about it, because in case I wanted to go in that business, I had the grounding for it. But what I ultimately learned all after all this is God's not going to let me get out of the food business. God's not going to let me just jump into something without finishing what I already started, when I was 18 years old. Or if you really want to look at it, when I started mowing lawns or selling fruit at fruit stands at 14 years old, or whatever you want to do, to look at it, lemonade stands, yeah, mowing lawns for neighbors or fields. That mentality just doesn't go away, and I can't just run and hide, okay? I can't hide from what I'm supposed to be doing. And I will tell you this, just from my perspective, I will live in this discomfort of growth, in the plan that God has for me, versus the discomfort of being in the place that he doesn't want me. Okay? Because the discomfort of being in a place where we don't quote unquote belong, or we don't feel like we're growing, or our life is just this. If you're not growing, or there's not a corporate ladder for you to grow, or it's a position where you can't grow as a human, or your family can't grow from it, and the consistency is just the day in and day out of the same thing, it's not necessarily where we should be right now. Those jobs are important, do not get me wrong, but for how long for you as an individual?
Mhm. Yes,
So
that is so true. I agree with you. And also, I think if we go to God creations, the something that I'm impressed is God created our brain. And we had a conversation with my husband about it, and how we grow sometimes, and the environment that we grow in is basically dictates how our brain operates. So basically the brain is a huge source of the decisions that we make based on experiences or examples in our life that we saw earlier. And you can rewire it, because if you just out of the curiosity go and look at the videos or read about the brain, how it develops new neurons and connections, and how it functions, and you can easily understand how it works, and you can basically create your reality just by knowing how your brain works and how to manage that and how to give the commands and how to work on that, change some, established stereotypes in your brain, because brain doesn't understand the reality, what is real, what is not real. And when I read about it, I was like, oh my goodness, basically we are capable of changing our realities, our vision, our perspectives, our thoughts, just by knowing how brain operates. And this is a fascinating. I don't want to go deeper into that because I believe we are run out of the time. But
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna
just
anchor this for everyone so we close it out, and then I want you to just let everyone know where they can follow you online, but I'll trigger that. Just give me because I wanna talk about this.
Mhm, mhm,
The most important thing that we miss as human beings is we grow physically first to show that growth is possible, that we can grow our capacity for growth. We can build bigger muscles. We can eat certain ways. We can do whatever. So we learn that during those first 25, arguably, years of our lives. Okay. But
mhm,
what we forget to understand is that in the rest of our lives, physiologically, our bodies continue to change forever, okay? It's a
mhm,
matter of which direction we send it in, mind, body, spirit,
mhm,
emotion, if we wanna talk about our emotional well-being also. All those things are connected. Emotional being my control over myself. I say emotional intelligence, if we're talking about mental, that's my mental ability to learn. How do I grow my mind? And talking about the mind, it runs off of less than the electricity of two light bulbs. Okay, or and how impressive is that?
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Let's talk about efficiency and design here, okay? And the ability to physiologically do something and create energy and keep us alive. It powers a brain, it powers a heart. We do a lot of things. There's a lot of energy within us. And then all of a sudden, the energy's gone one day. Okay. That's truth, and then the energy goes into the world and helps the world in other ways, I believe. And our spirit is the thing that's most important. How we live this world and the way we live it and what we leave behind spiritually is just as important as what we leave behind financially, if someone wanted to argue that or whatever. And I would argue spiritually is more than financially. So let's talk about that because I think when everyone you're inside your own head as everyone and we're talking about the big picture, what am I gonna give back, and what am I gonna do with what's been given to me? And,
True, true. And I think also, Justin, each individual is a source of energy too.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
basically making decision of which kind of energy you're gonna kind of, what is the right word for that? Reflect, I think, not reflect, the give back to the world. That's why they say positive mindset and negative mindset. So children often they wake up in the morning grumpy. And what I tell them, I said that this is your decision to start the day on a positive note. Just smile, do something nice. Or you want to keep going because it takes effort to change your mindset from the grumpiness to the positive. And it's a hard process because when you're grumpy, you just want to be grumpy. You don't want to change anything. You're just emotional, right? But
Yeah,
to make this effort to switch,
bingo.
it will be hard for the first few seconds or minutes. Different people have different time on that, but once you do that, it will keep going, and you basically start the engine towards the positive attitude. And this is what I also believe with the people. We are source of energy. And what you read, who is your friends, what you watch, the same things comes to the social media. If you're watching the social media looking at the entrepreneurs and saying, oh, they're so good, I'm never gonna be that good, or there is a jealousy, we all
Mm,
experience the jealousy and it's okay. Just use this emotion to say, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. So switch to the positive thing and put it to the action. So put your step on your ego and reach out to them. Say, I'm impressed. Give them compliment, because if they grab your attention, that means they're doing something right. And if you want to be that good, ask the questions, because this is the beauty of the question. They give you the answer that can basically impact your mindset too. And when you generate this positive energy, you can attract good things to your life. Again, once you have, that you are on the mode, you just everything happening great, amazing, you are like, elevated, you are happy, and other people, it's like a disease that you spread, like in I don't know, it sounds terrible, but in basically it can be contagious, right? So this something little that you can do as a smile, and in our religion we say it's sunnah to smile. It's basically the charity too. When you smile,
Yeah,
it's a charity. So
absolutely.
you can impact somebody's life just with a smile. And I think when we start thinking about others a little bit more and put attention from ourselves to the world around us, I know it's kind of, sound like already everybody's talking about that. But if you think deeper into that, I think there is something in this phrase. If you, I love Michael Jackson, like how he says, like, starting with the man in the mirror. And we love singing with my children that song, because it's a good reminder in a fun way that you have to start with yourself before you complain that something is not right. Ask yourself, are you making decisions? Are you doing something? Because there are many people out there, Justin. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're smart. They have the knowledge. Oh my goodness. I said, like, you can build a huge business, but they are not acting. They're not doing anything because, I don't know, they're scared, or they don't believe, or they may be negative about it, or they have negative experiences in that. But there is something that divides entrepreneurs, that doing something, and people that are super smart, they super knowledgeable, capable, but they're not doing. And I think, like, the huge, as John Maxwell always saying, there is a huge gap between knowing and doing, and
Yeah.
always find this also golden middle between, like, when emotions go high, you are super excited, your business is growing, experiences this happiness, but always go back to middle. If you are sad, things don't go well for you, you get sick, your family gets sick, your, like, financial is not well, experiencing that, because we are human beings, we have to experience the emotions, but try to go back to normal, to middle, basically, where you are be able to be consistent, because emotions, huge distractions. And if you're able to put yourself in a golden middle, when you are not too excited, not too sad, I think having a goal and vision, this is what helps you probably keep going, and also be mindful of the environment, people that you talk to, and who has the influence in your life and on you, because even one word from somebody, or the comment that didn't was thought through before saying, can affect somebody's mental statement and confidence. Do you know, like, what I mean, like, in terms of
Yeah.
energy and influencing other people? That's why social media should be careful. I go only to the social accounts, profiles that will inspire me, that will elevate my spirit, and trying to stay away from other noise that is not bringing any value to my life and my vision and what I do, because you can easily be distracted for a second, and you're already in 2 hours of watching something that not even, like, valuable or just fun. And I
Yeah,
think this is something
absolutely.
probably affected my mindset also building the business.
Yeah, I want to talk about the business. I have a lot of notes here for us. Next episode, I promise to focus less for everyone on sort of the big picture, but I think it anchors who you are. I think
Mhm.
we gave a real definition of leadership and entrepreneurship in this episode for everyone. Will you just let everyone know where they can find you online, where they can find you on Instagram, where they can find your business, how if they're interested in talking to you or hiring you if they're in the Kansas City area, what does that look like? How do they do all that?
So thank you. Yes, I mainly on my Instagram. I'm not on the social media in personal, but I only do my Instagram for the business, and the all information you can see there. My contact number is also 913-717-6768. Emails is also information. My website, azayafruits.com, is also a good way to communicate with me. As I said, I basically not a public person. Talking like that is something unusual for me. Like, I'm impressed today with myself in terms of how I can speak and share, because I'm usually kind of introvert, and this is one of the processes I also learn and taught myself to be as a business owner, how to communicate and talk to people and be out there in the world and sharing my thoughts, ideas, and experiences. But yes, like email, but the best way, Instagram, because I'm there most of the time.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate you
Thank
coming on
you,
the show.
Justin. Thank you, Justin, and I appreciate your work, because, to be honest, I wish we can interview you. And this is a huge compliment that you approach me and offer me to do this. And knowing how experienced you are and what did you build as an entrepreneur, that tells me a lot about you. And I wish somebody you can invite somebody who can do interview with you, or just like, podcast, the way you can talk, not just interview type style, but just the tea time table conversation.
Yeah. Like, absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I appreciate everyone in the audience. And I appreciate all of the people that come on here and do the show and have grown me for sure. And like I tell everyone, there's a lot of bonding that happens by just sharing your story. But if you don't open your mouth, no one knows what you're going through. That's
Exactly.
the truth. So, and no one can reach out and help you. And if you don't have the willingness and the guts to express yourself in this way, as an entrepreneur, no one's going to know. You are the story. And it is embracing all the elements of life and being aware of the world around you. So I encourage everyone to continue to do that. I know I'll get a lot of questions from this episode. So, like I said, we've already planned to do another episode, and we're going to continue to talk about this for everyone. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening in. Like, share, comment, support the entrepreneur, support the business that's on here. Like, share, comment on their stories, their pages, their photos. I guarantee if you go to Instagram, you will be impressed. The link to Instagram or the information for this episode is in the show notes for everyone. You can see it in the show notes. It'll be there. I appreciate you. I love you guys, and we are out.